Everybody has spoken, and so July 5th is officially the start of spooky season for many. Gabby Reed's Summerween challenge is also starting today. This is supposed to be a one-day read. This is sitting in 2.5 territory right now for me. I think maybe the brother may be a murderer. Maybe one of them is a murderer and they were covering it up. I think it might be the brother. Now that I've said it out loud, I think the brother might be the murderer. Hey y'all, and welcome back to the vlog. Today is July 5th. I am supposed to be putting out a vlog today, and I might have gotten confused. Spent my time editing an upcoming video for Sunday when I should have been editing the vlog. So if the vlog before this one came out later, you know why. Anyways, but today is, the very first official day of spooky season. Apparently, everybody has spoken. It's the next major holiday, and so July 5th is officially the start of spooky season for many. And with that being said, Gabby Reed's Summerween challenge is also starting today, and that is until the 11th. So this vlog is mainly going to be about my reading for the Summerween challenge. I am now starting. I started before the actual challenge started. I started reading The God of the Woods, which is an arc I received. It came out July 2nd. I didn't finish it in time to say anything about it before it was out. I'm like an hour and a half into the audiobook, and I am so bored. It takes place during... And I hate that I'm bored because I shouldn't be, I feel like. It takes place during the 70s. A girl has gone missing at a summer camp. Like, this is summer spooky season fodder. Like, this should be working. It's not. There's so many details that aren't, I feel like it's supposed to be mysterious and kind of haunting, and instead, I just don't feel any sort of connection to the characters in the book yet. And to be an hour and a half into the book and not feel like I want to know what happened is concerning to me, because right now I don't really care to know what happened at all to these people. I don't know. I'm looking on Goodreads and online, and there have been a lot of people who said that it's really good, but I also don't know if that's just, you know, people receiving the arc talking or something. It's just not fast enough for me, so I know that I originally was going to read it for Summerween. I don't know if that's going to happen anymore. I'm an hour and a half in. Maybe if I get far enough into some other books. I don't want to end up in a reading slump from reading a book that I'm just not excited about that far into the book. And it's 14 hours. So I'm like, if I'm not excited right now, I don't know if I want to push myself through 12 and a half more hours of reading this simply because I started it, you know? That's what happened with the Z Word. And I lost a whole, 2 weeks because of it. So we're moving forward. So my first official book for Summerween that I've started is You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Kailyn Bayron. A lot of people spoke quite a bit about this during my I Love Black Horror challenge in February. And I saw a lot about it before then. Cover's amazing. I found it at the thrift store for cheap, and so I decided to pick it up. Luckily, the audiobook for this is 6 hours. So, you know, not that big of an investment, and it's perfect for the start of the Summerween challenge. It is a thriller horror. It has a night sky on the cover. Read a book with 5 words in the title. You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. Perfect. And read a book that takes place in the summer. I mean, the first prompt is read a book in the dark. So that really could be anything. It's kind of in there so that you can read whatever you want. So this is perfect. I think even, they even posted on their page that this would be a perfect read because it hits basically every prompt. So I'm going to read this first as a 6-hour read. I need to still make my post for the prompt today, for the social media prompt today, which is post your TBR, which will include You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight, Home is Where the Bodies Are, All the Sinners Bleed, and I think I'm gonna do Gone Girl. Those are my 4 books for the reading challenge. No, that's a lie. I don't think I'm gonna include Gone Girl because Gone Girl is a 20-hour audiobook. And All Saints Bleed is 13. Home is Where the Bodies Are is 8. I may read Gone Girl as like a possibility, but I feel like it doesn't really fit into a lot of the prompts. Like, it is a thriller, and that's it. Like, it's just a thriller. As opposed to All the Sinners Bleed is a thriller. It has a night sky on the cover. It almost has 5 books and words in the title, but it doesn't. And then Read a Book that takes place in the summer. I think it takes place in the summer. So that one is fine. And then Home is Where the Bodies Are. It has 5 words in the title. It hasn't. My book version has a night sky on the cover, but that's because it's like the special edition, and it's a thriller horror. So I just feel like all of those fit better. The God of the Woods probably would have fit into this as well, but if I didn't have such a struggle reading it. So those are the 3 that I think I'm going to actually officially post as my TBR. So I need to get to that because I need to post that today. I need to edit the vlog that was supposed to come out today. Yeah, I'm a little bit behind. I need to edit the vlog that was supposed to come out today. And then after that, I need to get into watching the video that I edited yesterday that's supposed to come out on Sunday to see where all the illustrations and pop-ups need to go into that and illustrate all of that. I think, oh, and probably if I have time, get ahead on drawing out the post for tomorrow, which is for a summerween Instagram prompts, and that is post book spines with orange, pink, and purple to make a sunset, which I think I have some options. It may also be a reel if it may be a reel. I haven't posted a reel in a really long time. I don't know how Instagram's algorithm's working anymore because I've gotten away with not posting reels, and I'm not noticing like that I'm not getting likes or not getting in anybody's algorithm anymore. So who knows? That might just be a lie that they perpetuated. So yeah, that's going to be the day. I have to go to the gym today. And so we know that that probably also means that I'm going to try and go to some Halloween, go to Home Goods, probably check out some Home Goods or some Marshalls on my way to the gym. I don't want to like go out of my way though again. That happened earlier this week, and while it was fun in the moment, I was at the gym until like nearly 11 o'clock at night. And I just, although it's a weekend, like it's, you know, a holiday or whatever, like we all have Friday off, and tomorrow's Saturday, I don't want to end up at the gym that late again. So we'll see. If I end up going, I'm saying if, but I know that I'm going to end up going to a Home Goods and then hitting the gym. We'll check in tomorrow on how everything's going. I did start a little bit of this. It is definitely reading YA, but it's a YA novel. It's nice to sometimes like read a YA novel that actually reads like a YA for once. So, and I like our main character so far. So we'll see what goes from here. Hey y'all, it is day 2 of Summerween, and I am out Halloween decor hunting, getting some fresh air on a Saturday, but also the other reason why I wanted to go out is because I like to listen to my audiobooks in the car. I don't know what it is, it's just I can focus on it. I have been moving my way through You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight, and I'm pretty sure things are about to go south. It's been cute so far. I'm not gonna lie, I think it's a very cute YA novel. I think it's actually YA, which is crazy because YA doesn't really exist anymore. But I think that this one is like actually a cute little slasher YA novel. I would recommend it to somebody who was looking for something light and just funny and fun and not really all vibes, no really message type of thing with like a cast of characters who are cute. I think that the person who's narrating the audiobook is doing a good job as well. We love the diversity. Whole nine. We're gonna see where it kind of goes, but it's been good so far. I will say that I'm kind of sitting here like, this is cute for a little start to summerween and a summer read. Definitely read it during the summer, because it is definitely meant to be read during the heat of summer type of slasher book. But I'd be lying if I said I'm not looking forward to kind of enjoying this. It's kind of sitting in a 3 territory right now, and then moving on to something a little bit more mature. Because it is a little bit like, turn it on, let it play. A little bit. Not to say that it's not good. It's just a little bit, it's definitely reading YA. I feel like The Weight of Blood didn't really read YA, even though that one was also a YA story. But again, doesn't mean that the story isn't good, just my brain doesn't need to think as hard. So I think after I finish this one, which I should kind of finish it by today, I plan on getting into Home is Where the Bodies Are, and then getting into S.A. Cosby, because I think it'll be a huge leap to go from this to S.A. Cosby. I need something that's like, okay, let's take it up a notch and then furthest. So I found out that Gone Girl takes place, like, she goes missing on July 5th, which I think is hilarious, that I was thinking of putting Gone Girl in my TBR for Summerween. I did end up doing that just because of how long that novel is, but I plan on reading it this summer. So regardless, yeah. My Summerween is going well so far. I need to batch up some of my posts. I will say that because it is taking up some time. All things good. Hey y'all, it is day 4. It's day 4. I skipped day 3 of Summerween. I'm checking back in with y'all. I skipped yesterday, hardly got any reading done whatsoever, just because I was doing chores and working and everything, so I really was focused in and wasn't even listening to any audiobooks. So these next couple of days, I'm going to have to really move through in order to finish my TBR for the challenge. I'm 30 minutes out from the end of You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. This is supposed to be a one-day read. This is sitting in 2.5 territory right now for me. It's taken far too long for it took, I don't know, 2/3 of the book before actual slasher killing really started. So the cadence is very slow, to be honest. Every time something happened, you were like, oh, it'll start now. And it wasn't starting. And it wasn't even evidence fully that something was starting. There was also plenty of evidence from the beginning that obviously a slasher situation was going to start. And all of these people were just, all these kids were just kind of like, no, everything's fine. Somebody just up and left. 3 people up and left. They left their phones. Everything's fine. They must have just hated here. They must have just been like assholes. Like, which did not make any sense. Our main character also has this obsession with continuing to tell us that she's the final girl, she's the final girl, she's the final. It's gotten very unnerving hearing how often she is equating her role in the game at this camp simulation. It's a slasher camp simulation that they have. It's kind of like an escape room, but not. Like, it's horror nights, essentially, but, like, even more immersive. And she usually is always the final girl. That is our main character. She is obsessed with that role, though, because of her home life being horrible. Her mother basically doesn't care about her. Her mother's boyfriend doesn't like her or care about her whatsoever. It's clear that she just puts her whole everything into this slasher camp because she doesn't really have a home. by the end, I'm 30 minutes out and I'm still not clear on how it's going to end. But basically, they've thrown everything but the kitchen sink into the supposed left turns, like the surprises of the end of the novel. And it's been so many that I'm kind of getting whiplash, and it's kind of getting to a point where it's like, it feels like it feels like the spoof of Scooby-Doo when it's like they take the mask off of the person and they're just like, Old Man Jenkins. And then there's like the spoof of, no, actually, it wasn't Old Man Jenkins. It was. And then they pull another mask off of him. And it's like the guy from the hot dog stand down the street that was at the very beginning of the episode. And then they're like, no, actually, it wasn't that. It was. And then they pull the thing, Scrappy Doo. Like, that's what it feels like. It feels like they've put so many different twists that are supposed to be surprising twists at the end of this novel. And it's taken them so long to even get to the slashery part of the novel that it's all kind of gone off the hinges. I think that what it was originally and who was doing the slasher stuff, I think that was kind of interesting, and I think it would have been better if we would have gotten there quicker and we weren't where we are right now, which is there are 5 different killers of some kind. Like, you can't nail down who the actual killer was all along. I'm currently reading it at 1.75 speed. I would read it faster if that didn't mean that I basically would not understand one word that was coming out of it. Sorry, to the people who read in 2 times, 3 times speed, you guys are superhuman ears. Although I'm not necessarily enjoying it, I started not enjoying it probably around the 75% mark with like an hour to go. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to finish it at this point. I've already gotten through so much of it. I'm going to finish it, but the ending has just really fallen apart. The main character's fallen apart. Her girlfriend has completely gone off the rails and even kind of feels like a different character now, which I hate saying that because, like, this is a Black woman author who wrote this, and I've heard a lot of people suggest it, and the cover's great, and the plot honestly sounded it sounded very slasher summer camp. So, of course, there's going to be some cornball plot to it, of course, because a lot of summer slashers, especially the earlier ones, of like Friday the 13th and everything, are corny, are funny rather than scary. But there were also moments in this book that are very gruesome and gory a bit for a YA novel, which is confusing because it's written very much like a YA novel, not like, a YA novel that was crossover. So in these moments where it's gruesome and gory, it just doesn't feel like it fits. And you're kind of like, what was that? Like, there's a whole scene where they're chased and nails are being torn off, which is a big for me. And arrows are in eyes and bones are being broken and stuff. And it's like, okay, that was weird. Because it just feels out of place. A lot of different things have felt out of place, especially near the end of this book. And it feels like, I feel like the author lost the plot. Or she, like, was bored of her own story. And so she started just throwing in things that were going to amp it up. Or maybe the editorial told her that she needed to amp up some of the fear factor on it. I'm not certain, but it feels rushed, which is weird because the beginning of the novel felt so slow. To be exact, 27 minutes left. I'm listening at 1.75 speed, so I've got maybe about 15 more minutes left of it. And at this point, I'm just like happy to be done with it. I feel like the idea of it is great and I want to support it, but it's just not that great. That's also coming from a space of, like, even putting myself in the space of, like, YA, reading YA novel. It's not just like, oh, this isn't great, because I feel like it's not a great horror, but more so just, I feel like the story's all over the place. So I think it's going to sit at 2. I know I started off, this was a 2.5, but the more I've spoken about it, I feel like it's going to sit at a 2 for me. I'm going to finish this, and then I'm going to start Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose, because I feel like going from this into All the Sinners Bleed, I've heard mixed results and reviews on Home is Where the Bodies Are. And so we'll see if I end up liking that one. Also, that one's like 8 hours, I believe, and I didn't want to choose a novel that was going to be super, super long. I mean, the whole reason why I chose this one first was to have something that would have been a layup as far as like it was one of my shortest reads. But I've really needed to focus on things I've been getting done recently. And other than knocking out a good chunk of it the other day when I went Halloween decor hunting, because I do a majority of my audiobook listening in the car during my commute because I can just kind of focus on it. I just haven't had the chance to really listen. So I'm going to try and do that today and hopefully maybe knock out a good majority of the Geneva Rose novel, and hopefully I like that one better than this one.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Or else I might put myself in a reading slump by accident, which is not how I expected this to go. You're gonna see. I'm just so disappointed in this novel. And I hate saying that. I hate saying that. Alright. I'll probably check in later for me to give my final thoughts, but I really don't think that they're going to change from this. I'll probably check in after I've finished this and started Home is Where the Bodies Are, though. Yeah. I look horrible, and I'm filming this on my phone because I just finished You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. Solid, maybe 1.5, 2. And I feel horrible stating that because it's a Black woman horror author, and I want to see us win. But it just was not good at all. I feel like the lean into how corny slashers are got away from her. The plot, is she in the room with us? Because I didn't see it. The ending even called itself out in referencing Friday the 13th, the original, the first movie, which I don't really recommend this book to you, but I also don't want to ruin it for you by telling you how that ends. If you've seen Friday the 13th, the very first movie, where Mrs. Voorhees is the actual killer, not Jason. Jason doesn't actually fully show up as the killer until the second film. Then you know what I'm talking about with the ending. And it even talks about it in the book. It talks about how they used to have slumber parties and they'd watch Friday the 13th, the original movie, and Paige, the friend who was obsessed with horror films, was like, keep watching till the end. And then it did exactly what it was calling out that it was talking about. So I'm just like, that's no fun. It was completely convoluted. Who ended up being the ultimate big bad boss wasn't even really the big bad boss in the first place. It was extremely strange. It made no sense, and at one point it wasn't even enjoyable. I feel like that's very harsh, but it's also very true on my thoughts while reading this book, which I hate saying again, because I want to see us win. And I was talking to my partner about it, and he was just like, well, is it because it was a YA novel? And I was just like, writing for middle grade or YA does not mean that you write dumber. It's actually the opposite of that. It means that there's going to be more scrutiny that you don't write, immaturely, or that you dumb your story down. We still love Goosebumps novels for a reason. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark still scares the mess out of us. There are plenty of YA novels and middle grade novels every day having crossover sales because they're still entertaining stories to read, and especially in horror thriller genre nowadays. I feel like that genre within YA has really exploded over the last couple of years, and so it should be taken just as seriously. So I don't think that it can be like, oh, well, this was a YA novel. That for me isn't an excuse to have just not a good plot or a strong plot or characters that you even truly care about nearing the end. I just started Home is Where the Bodies Are. Trigger warning, because I haven't seen this anywhere. If you have lost a parent, or have seen a parent pass, or have had a sickly parent, or have recently experienced the death of a parent or parent-like person, maybe don't read this one. The beginning of it is actually, hard to read. I lost my grandmother about 2 years back, and it's about sickness. And I just was kind of having flashbacks. While I wasn't there for it, it was very difficult to hear because I put my mother in her shoes, who was there for her passing from sickness. And so it was a little kind of rough to read. Not enough for me to like stop reading it or, anything insane. I just thought that I should probably say that because I don't feel like I've seen enough people who talked about this book talk about how the book basically throws you into that situation. Although it does talk about, the whole reason all this is happening in the book, where the three siblings are getting together and they find this VHS about their father, is because of their mother's death. It doesn't necessarily state, and you're going to be there for it in complete detail. So I just thought that I would maybe give that heads up to some people who maybe don't want to deal with that or run into it 2 pages into the book and not know what they were getting themselves into. I'm listening to the audiobook. So far fine. They've basically thrown in the twist of their father not really disappearing, and those are basically the last words out of their mother's mouth. And when the son, who basically is the youngest and hates the family and the town they grew up in, is coming back home because of the funeral. That's where I'm at. I'm just happy to read something else right now. And I'm hoping that this is actually interesting. I've heard mixed reviews. I've heard, like, some people have said it was a fun ride. Some people have said, that wasn't what I was expecting. I didn't too much care for it. So we'll see where I sit amongst it all. I will check back in. I hope to check back in later on tonight when I tell you kind of once I get further. Actually, just realized my battery is gonna die. I was gonna move to a different location. That will just have to be somewhere later, one of the later vlogs, because I have vlogged every single one of these from this position in my makeshift office. Anyways, it's day 5 of summerween. I finished You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight yesterday. Was not a fan, as you've heard in depth from my rant in the car outside of the gym. I've started Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose yesterday. I'm about a quarter into the book. Yeah, I'm a little over a quarter into the book. Got about 6 hours left of it. So far, it's good. It reads very, easy. So, noticing that I was about 30% into the book, I didn't really notice that until I literally just checked. So that's always a good sign, because it means it's reading pretty smooth. We just now basically hit the moment of them finding out that their parents had something to do with a murder. The rest of it so far has been about the family dynamic of these 3 siblings, which has been interesting. At least it's been interesting reading the audiobook because they have 3 different people, since they're from the point of views of all 3 of them. All of them are kind of suck. As people, but they're interesting enough. They suck as people. Yeah, I'm wondering where it's gonna go from here, though, because we're 30% in. We just found out that, basically that their parents were a part of a murder from their childhood somehow. And they're basically only a day or 2 out from, grieving their mom passing in the house. So they're cleaning out the house and everything, and that's how they found this VHS that has this video of their parents hiding a body. So I don't know where it'll go from here. Whether or not they'll try and find the body, whether or not more bodies are going to be coming up. Why would they hide it? Was their father a murderer? I think I'm very interested to find all of that out. I think maybe the brother may be a murderer. Maybe one of them is a murderer and they were covering it up. I think it might be the brother. Now that I've said it out loud, I think the brother might be the murderer. He may have murdered that girl because she was a kid. He may be a sociopath. Okay, let's once I finish this book, if that ends up being the case, that the brother is a sociopath and they were just covering up, the body that he had killed when they were kids, because there's something about him that seems off. Those are my thoughts. I need to find out if I'm right. But I've got my money on the brother. The brother must have killed her father. The dad tried to cover it up. That's why he didn't look for him and why he's stayed away from the city as long as he has. Well, I understand, wanting to leave your hometown because it's small or something. There's something about him that's off. So we'll see. It's been fine so far. Nothing like super, super exciting has happened, so I don't really have much of a stronger reaction than that. Let's see if I can finish this sometime today, though, and then I'll just be one book away from finishing all the books that I wanted to finish during the readathon. Now, keep in mind that I believe I have 6 more hours left in this book. And the other book on my TBR is All the Sinners Bleed, which is 13 hours. Which isn't too long of a book, but to finish it in, 2 more days? In 2 days? I mean, it's possible, I suppose, but we'll have to see. I know that I have a lot of meetings for the rest of the day, so we'll see if it's possible, even finishing the Geneva Rose novel today. A little bit unrelated, did just get off of a really important meeting. So there's some big news coming in regards to the Nightmare Curator zine. If you follow that, if you don't, check out our newest issue. It's linked down below. There's going to be some changes. Some big changes. They're exciting, but big. Just a little shameless plug of that here. Also have some work to do as far as my internship is concerned. So I'm probably going to listen to the audiobook while I do some of that, and then switch off when I have to kind of get into reading a manuscript and everything. So we will see. I'm hoping that I can finish this book by the end of the day, though. We will find out by tomorrow. If I finish it today or something happens during the book that I have to hop on here for, we will talk. But other than that, I'll probably see y'all tomorrow. Hey, y'all. It is day 6 of summerween, and it does not look... I might possibly finish Home is Where the Bodies Are by the end of tonight, but it is unlikely that I will finish All the Sinners Bleed in only one day when I have to work. So I will probably start it for the last day of summerween, and that'll be it. I probably won't finish it in time for like a roundup for this vlog. Yeah, just been working and having to focus, and I've only really been able to listen to the books while I'm driving around and all of that. But I'm almost done with Home is Where the Bodies Are. I have about 2 more hours to go. I have basically a quarter. And I think I've already figured it out. Like, I'm almost positive Michael's the killer. Like, Michael is a sociopath. One, like, the person they chose to narrate him sounds like a sociopath. So I kind of pegged that pretty early on. He is devoid of emotion. I mean, he's textbook sociopath. Like, devoid of emotion, puts a lot of heart and stuff into, or emotion that they do have into physical things and what people think of them. Doesn't really recognize or become emotionally attached to people or places. He's textbook sociopath. I have a feeling, and we'll see at the end of the day, because I know I'm going to finish it today, what if I got it, but I think that Michael accidentally lost his temper, killed Emma, and the dad found out, had to hide the body, and didn't tell the mom because he knew he was trying to protect her. Hid the body to protect Michael. I'm still trying to figure out why Nicole started using, or I guess I already know why she started using. They said that she accidentally became an addict from being prescribed opioids after a car accident, which is probable. A lot of people get strung out very easily and addicted very easily because of how easily opioids are prescribed. That's not what I have a problem with regarding her character. Really, I have a problem with the fact that, considering that Geneva Rose kind of made her a very Lifetime-esque addict, in the sense of she can't keep a job, and she's being beat by men, and a lot of other things. And I just kind of feel like it's very flat as far as having that sort of character, and she feels very underdeveloped as a character, and it's just kind of thrown in there as like the addict sister who had a lot going for her and somehow lost it all because she's basically a Pisces. So I have a problem with that so far. Honestly, I don't see how they're going to develop her story much more than the next like 25% for me to change that answer. And it's kind of unfortunate because I feel like out of the three of them, she's the one who probably had the most redeemable type of personality from when she was a child. Beth has always been basically a know-it-all who's thrown away her life because she got pregnant and fell in love with some man. And she also is a bit of a bitch. So I'm not a fan of her whatsoever. As opposed to Nicole, I feel like it's just bad writing, let alone like bad character and bad character development, as opposed to just being like a character you don't care for. And then as far as Michael is concerned, again, very flat, because if I'm right about this and he really is a sociopath, that like the parents are just covering this up the whole time, I'm gonna be like, this is horrible character development because you basically wrote him as a textbook sociopath. Like, anybody who's read or watched more than one true crime can probably call this 25% into the book, especially if they're listening to the audiobook. So we'll see. I'd be extremely surprised at this point with the way that they've written Michael. And now that I've basically said that out loud, like for a while now that I was saying, oh, I think it's Michael. I think Michael's a sociopath. Ever since then, everything sounds exactly like down that whole path. I definitely I'm going to put a spoiler like alert on one of those things, just because if you do choose to read the book, I don't want anybody saying, you told me the end of the book, or you told me the whole plot of the book. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this book from where I'm at right now. I think the cover and the casing, like that they packaged it in for the Barnes & Noble exclusive, was amazing. I think that's the reason why a majority of people bought it. VHS cassettes are in right now, but if this honestly, like, so far, I'm 2 for 2 on the VHS. No, I'm like 2 for 3, because I personally was one of the few people who liked my best friend's Exorcism, and I specifically got the version that had, that looked like a cassette tape. But what else did I read? Dead 11 didn't do it for me. Bad character development, in my opinion, as well. And this one, it looks like the same. I'm concerned because I'm supposed to be reading a horror movie probably next month, and that's another one of the cassettes. So, and I've heard mixed reviews regarding horror movie as well, and as we know, I'm shaky on Paul Tremblay. We're gonna see. I'm hoping to finish this by the end of the day, knock out some of it on the drive home from the gym, and then knock out some more of it, finishing up some work that I need to do. But I definitely want to finish it today just so that I can listen to All the Sinners Bleed all tomorrow, to at least get, I don't know, maybe halfway through that one and talk about it somewhat, because I know I'm not going to finish it. I'd be hard pressed to finish it when I have work to do tomorrow. That's where I'm at. Wish I had it's a hard summerween. My first book was not great because it was bad character development, and now I'm saying the same thing for this one. I feel like All the Sinners Bleed I'm going to enjoy, though, because so many people have told me to read that book, and so many people have enjoyed it. So that's another reason why I'm like, I want to have at least some happiness in this vlog, because right now it's been very negative. So let me just get through this as soon as I can. If I'm right, one, I should be a detective, but also I've probably been watching far too much X-Files. Alright, I'll see you in the next one. Hey y'all, it is the last day of Summerween, and I literally just finished Home is Where the Bodies Are. I was supposed to finish it last night. That didn't happen. One, because I wasn't looking forward to finishing the book because I was bored, to be honest. And as well as it just got late, and I wanted to watch X-Files instead. Speaking of X-Files, I think watching X-Files and reading too much spooky stuff is causing me to low-key become an amazing detective. I don't know what it is, because I called it. There's video proof of me calling the ending of Home is Where the Bodies Are. I think maybe the brother may be a murderer. Maybe one of them's a murderer, and they were covering it up. I think it might be the brother. Now that I've said it out loud, I think the brother might be the murderer. I don't recommend the book to anybody who reads any true crime. I need to watch Cozy Jess and Danny Reed's thrillers. I need to watch both of their videos, because both of them read this book, and both of them, I don't know what Jess said as far as like what her experience was reading the book, but I know for a fact that Danny said she didn't like it. And now I probably know why. is because the twist is not a twist. It is not. I feel like anybody who reads this book and has read or watched a good majority of any sort of sleuthing shows or family issue drama, thrillers, anything like that, you're going to call the ending so easily. And I think the only thing that I didn't call was literally, I don't want to say it because I want people to be able to choose for themselves whether or not they want to read it, but the one thing that I didn't call wasn't, there was no way I was going to maybe be able to call it necessarily. Like, once you find out and for sure you're like, oh yeah, that person definitely did it because there was plenty of evidence to show that they were capable of doing it. The thing that I didn't get right was a red herring, and there was no way anybody's gonna get that right because there's no other evidence in the book to tell you or lead you to you figuring that out. So it's not even a twist that this person doesn't die because there's no evidence within the rest of the book to tell you, yeah, they didn't. So I'm frustrated because that's now 2 books in a row that I am giving low ratings to. I'm almost so upset with Home is Where the Bodies Are that I'm dabbling in 1.5 area. I also don't feel like the Nicole, the younger sister, I don't really too much care for how they set up her character. Although I think that the way that she got on drugs is very interesting, and I do think that it's something that needs to be talked about more as far as how easy it is, especially in American medical, like the system that we have to easily get on opioids, because many people, especially in suburban white areas, are hooked on opioids because of injuries, because of crashes, because of whatever, and the doctor just goes, hey, you're in pain, here's an opioid. And they put you on it for far too long. They do not monitor you on it. And then next thing you know, you're hooked on opioids. I think that that's a very interesting topic of how addiction can start, especially for suburban white families, especially for those living in in areas that aren't super like a metropolis, because this is a very small town. But I don't really too much care for how it felt like her entire personality changed as she got older, regardless of her even being clean through a majority of the book. I feel like that didn't too much make a lot of sense, and the character development wasn't there. The character development wasn't there for anybody in the book, to be honest, and the ending felt rushed, and yeah, I just wasn't happy with it. I feel like there were better ways for, even if I would have been right about who the killer was or what was happening, I just feel like there were better ways to conceal that until the end. And then, like, you know, for me to maybe still go like, oh, okay, like, now knowing the answer of who the killer was, now I see it, but for me to figure that out, like, basically 15% into the audiobook, either I'm messed up in the head or you just don't really know how to write a compelling thriller. And I don't know, it could be either, because I've heard mixed reviews on the book. So it's not to say that I didn't know this wasn't coming. There's been some people who've said this was fun, and then there's other people who've said, no, this was horrible, and I can't believe I read it. I'm now going to start reading All the Sinners Bleed. I'm not going to finish it in a day. There's no way I can. The audiobook is far too long for me to do that. It is now 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There is no way that I'm finishing that book today, especially considering I still have to edit this vlog to come out tomorrow. So that's not happening. But I am starting that today. I'm hoping that it's better. A lot of people have said that that's a great book, as opposed to the mixed reviews I've heard on the 2 other books I've read. So let's hope that that sticks, because I'm worried that if I get one more book that's under a 3, I'm going to end up in a reading slump. And we are midway through the year, and to end up in a reading slump right now wouldn't be great. It would probably hurt a lot. Everybody just wish for me to at least get at least a 3. I would like even a 3 right now. This is a very depressing summerween vlog. I think I may check in one last time, just to tell you how I'm enjoying or not enjoying All the Sinners Bleed. And that'll be it for this vlog. Unfortunately, no favorites were found. To recap, You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. It was cheesy, and I guessed everything, and it just wasn't, again, no character development at all. And even though it was a slasher that was supposed to be goofy, it felt so goofy that the story didn't, like, make sense at all. Like, and it didn't even feel, personally for me, it didn't feel like it was poking fun at the genre to, like, lean into it. It just felt like you don't really understand why the genre is built that way in the first place. And this is a bad repeat of movies we've already had 5 million times before, with situations that don't make sense and characters who put themselves into situations that don't make sense, and an ending that has been done before, and even the original ending didn't too much make sense either. So I think I'm giving that one a 2, only because I want to support it somewhat, but, and like, it didn't insult me. Like, it's not like, oh, this was disrespectful, like, to me as a person, so I'm not giving it a 1. And a 1.5 feels a bit too harsh. So I'm feeling like it's 2 territory for You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. Home is Where the Bodies Are Buried was, it was so predictable, and portions of it just were written all over the place. All the characters, as I always say, characters not need to be likable to be interesting. And almost all of the characters, while I did like Nicole maybe as a person per se, I still feel like her character wasn't really developed, and it didn't feel like it had much depth. Honestly, out of all of them, Lucas was my favorite character. He barely had words, and maybe that's why I liked him. So yeah, everybody felt very surface level. Again, the whole, it just felt like a bad Lifetime movie. Like, oh, we figured it out as soon as we turned on the movie. And not like a good, like, oh, popcorn. And people keep on explaining it as like a popcorn thriller. And I'm just like, does that mean that, like, you already know what's going to happen, but you're reading it anyway? Because if that's what the definition of a popcorn thriller is, then it definitely achieved that. But then I'm thinking, why would you read it then? Like, what's the point of reading it? So I feel like that's even sitting at 1.5 territory. But I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a 2 out of pity. I feel like All the Sinners Bleed at least will be a 3. If it ends up, this happened last month though. I ended up having 2, like, relatively not great books. What were those again? The Z Word, like, it could possibly go down as the worst book that I've read this year because of just it. That felt like it was insulting to me. I feel like the more I think about that, the more I'm like, it's so close to hitting a 1, it's getting ridiculous. But then I turned around and I read Sorrowland and Little Rot. So I read Little Rot and I read Sorrowland, and both of those are like hitting top 3 territory for my year. So I'm hoping, like, okay, you read 2 bad books or unenjoyable books. I don't want to say bad books because inherently, like, we don't want to put that out there. But you read 2 unenjoyable books. Now here's this shiny new 5-star in your life. Because if I don't, I may end up in a reading slump before I get to Ready Player 2 and Gone Girl. And that's what I've given myself this month just to read. Now, on the bright side, I finished 2 books within a week. And that's not my usual reading cadence. So, all things considered, it still kind of sped up some of my reading for this month. I still have so much more of the month to go, and 2 to 3 more books to read. I'm still up. There's still time to grab back July. The next time I check in with y'all probably about this book, it will be in my car. We're back. I was going to update y'all in the car. It got late. It got dark. We're back in the chair. I swear I'm going to be, I think next week. Next week I'll be back in my office instead of this weird area where you see half of my book nook, which really ruins the illusion of, like, this whole corner situation. And Miss Lisa plant that's currently dying. Anyways, I'm going to film my outro here. I have gotten 20%, about 20% into All the Sinners Bleed. It is absolutely worth the hype. I understand why people love it. I do think that I did have to get used to the writing style. It is S.A. Cosby is a son of Toni Morrison. Most certainly so. The flowery language, the metaphors. Now, he doesn't use them so much that you get lost in the sauce and you don't know what's happening on the page anymore, which I truly can appreciate, because unfortunately me and Miss Morrison have some issues because I don't know what's happening in her books half the time, because her timelines are all over the place. Her descriptions go so far into detail that it's basically a full page and you've lost the plot. S.A. Cosby does not do that, and so I appreciate that and can be like, oh, this is flowery and written beautifully. It is rough. Y'all, I read the synopsis between this and Razorblade Tears, and Razorblade Tears just seemed to me like, oh, that's gonna be heart-wrenching, gut punch. I'll read this instead. Yes, it has, trigger warning, it has a school shooting, it has police shooting, it does have, there's a lot in it, to be honest. But that's the main thing. It has that, and you can tell that from the synopsis. But what you cannot tell from the synopsis is that it also has child abuse, both, a lot of it, like, of all kinds. So just a trigger warning regarding that. So it's a rough book. I think more people should probably know it's a little bit rougher of a book. But it's like when I read A Little Rot. It's like I'm enjoying reading the book. Like this is a great book. The story is captivating, but enjoying is not like the word at all, because it's rough to read. It's a dark and it's a lot of different topics that are dark and deep. I think my only concern right now is I'm 20% in. I have about 10.5 hours to go, and I'm 2.5 hours in. I think the thing that I'm wondering is, what is the real plot of the book? Because it feels like there's many plots happening. And is it just a book about the 24 to 48 hours or whatever of Titus, our main character? Is it just about him being a black man and a sheriff in this small town, ex-FBI, and what comes with that, being in his first-person recollection of everything that's happening? Or is it that it's surrounding a main plot? Because right now it seems that they've they've basically found the evidence to put this case away, and they found out basically what it is, but we're only 20% into the book. So is it going to be that some of the stuff comes out and the town loses it and that's where we're moving towards? Or is it I don't even want to call it a celebration, the parade or whatever it is that the good old boys are trying to do downtown? Is that the breaking point in the plot? I'm still trying to figure that out. I think that's the main thing that is a bit of a concern for me, being 20% in and not having a clear consensus on, I thought the whole book was going to be basically trying to solve this case, and currently we're like maybe 5% away from that happening. So I don't really know where they're going from here, or what's the breaking point, or what's going to carry the next 75% of the book. Those are my concerns so far. But I'm enjoying it. I am not finishing it tonight whatsoever. We'll probably finish it tomorrow because I have a lot of computer work that I have to do. It should be done by the end of the week, though. While I did not finish my goal of 3 books this summerween, I did get through 2 and started, luckily, what seems to be at least a 3 book. This summerween was definitely not as fruitful as last year's. Last year's I did a full 24-hour read of the only one left. I did a 24-hour read, my first 24-hour read. My first time ever kind of vlogging, and I decided to put 3 to 5 minutes worth of footage of me reading and my updates on Instagram, which kind of brought my YouTube idea to life, where I was just like, I'm starting to film reels. They're getting longer and longer because I run my mouth too much. I need to just bite the bullet and just start making long form content. So it's kind of it's kind of nostalgic and everything doing this year, even though it wasn't as much of a hit as far as my books that I read. Last year, I think almost all the books that I read were 5 or 4 star. So it was a little bit of a crush to my spirit that both books that I finished were either 1.5 or 2 star reads. However, I did start All the Sinners Bleed, and that at least seems like a 3-star book. At least. Something, I mean, that's me going, oh, something crazy is going to happen at the end, and it's going to turn me off. Right now, we're seeing at 4 territory for sure. So yeah, there's a little bit of nostalgia there for that for me. So we're like nearly a month and a half out from my channel's anniversary. I started on September 1st, like nearly on the exact date. I think I started like posting September 1st on the exact date. I'm almost positive of that. For some reason that's stuck in my mind. So we're about a month and a half out. That being said, your girl is so close to monetizing her videos. We're literally like 800 watch hours away from being able to monetize, because they only give you a year to hit that, to like hit the 4K mark, which there's a whole situation with that, because first they tell you, oh, you need 1,000, then you hit 1,000, and then another pop-up comes up and it's like, no, you hit 1,000 in order to unlock. I don't even know what I unlocked, because it doesn't seem like anything unlocked. And then they're like, oh, it's 3K, and then you get close to 3K, and they're like, no, actually it's 4K. 3K only unlocks like market and superfan accessibility. So I'm just like, okay, whatever, just keep moving the goalposts. But they do only give you, it's only like hours within a year's time span. We'll see if I hit the number in another month and a half, if I hit 4,000 watch hours. So I know my videos are long, just watch it. Just watch through it, even if it's 2 times speed. I did have some fun, at least with the prompts and everything. I did have fun making the prompts. I always love doing that. Make sure you're following me on Instagram. If you're not, you have no idea what I'm talking about, because I posted them all there. But go ahead and check those out. They're at KelsSweetie, just like my channel name. All in all, I think we ended the challenge off fine, because I'm now reading this book that has my attention. It was very rough throughout the entire reading challenge though. But like I said earlier, I at least knocked out 2 books in a week. So I have the rest of the month. And like I said, I'm probably going to finish All Sinners Bleed by the end of tonight, like this week. So that's 3 books before we're halfway through the month. Leaves 2 more books to go. I think that's gonna be it for this one. Thank y'all for watching. I wish that I had more, I wish I had better ratings throughout this vlog. I feel like it's gonna be so negative when I go back to edit it. But thanks for watching regardless, to hear my thought. I will see y'all in the next one. The next one will be another book video, like Sunday or Monday if the editing does not happen on time. But that video will be my mid-year check-in tag. I thought that I needed to wait until July personally, so that we could be certain that I was definitely past the halfway mark for me to actually clock in with my actual reads for half year. That's me personally. Some people, they post like the first week of June and I'm like, that's only 5 months. But, you know, that's just me. But yeah, that'll be my next video. Check that out on Sunday. And I will see y'all in the next one. There's some, I think the next vlog will definitely be something Halloween related though. Almost positive of it. So I'll see y'all then. Bye.